Is it on already?
Yes, it's on.
Is it on? Hello? Is it on? Hello?
Alright, guys, I'm first of all gonna start by telling you guys what kind of thing we thought this was, establish the main arguments, and give you the justification for the rankings according to those themes. We felt like this was an average to below average debate. There were slight gaps in logic and argumentation, so we didn't think it was particularly above average. Our rankings are as follows from first to fourth place. In first place we have closing government. Can you clap after the speech? Because it like gets in the, and yeah. In first place we have closing government, in second place we have opening opposition, in third place opening government, and in fourth place closing opposition. The main themes that we saw established in this debate were, first of all, the issue of feminism and how it contributes, like the pro and cons when it comes to the rape cases. There was the issue of how best to curb the problem of rape, because everyone on the house did concede to the fact that rape is bad. I do too. And there was a touch on the power factor. Right. My rankings are gonna be like, I'm gonna give you in terms of fourth versus third, third versus second, second versus third. Between the closing opposition and the opening government, what we saw in the opening government's case was an argument about how it's because of the rise in this dominance in the female narrative, and because we see that men are more have this patriotic side, and they feel that they are more powerful than women. The fact that women are more dominant in these areas, it causes rape to be a more frequent occurrence. That men take back their masculinity through imposing themselves on women in this way. So as it becomes more a form of retribution and a way to get their masculinity back. You stated that because there was a rise in this feminist movement, that males' voices were being undermined more and more, that there's a rise in these rapes as a way to get this power back. We like how you established the fact that it's not the average person that goes around raping people. It's a certain mentality, and we're not speaking about every average person that goes around raping people. Where we found like that argument contributed, well, didn't help you guys very much, is when you made the case about how, first of all, not everyone goes around raping, but later on you went on to say that rapists need to hear from male about why rape is wrong because they respect male authorities. Where we didn't, we felt like that argument, there was a slight conflict in that analysis, because you're basically saying that it's not the normal person that rapes. It takes a certain level of thinking, but then that level of thinking can easily be shadowed by another person simply telling them not to speak. We felt like there was a slight conflict in that analysis of the rape mentality. Why we placed you above closing opposition, however, is because what we heard from closing opposition is the fact that the rape victims, the more frequent rape victims are women and like little children, and because they are the ones that get raped more, they should have the most say in this. They should dictate the discussions here to bring about this awareness, so that the more people speak about it, the more perpetrators are put behind bars, and this and this evens things out. We found a lack, a problem in your case is when you establish the fact that on your side you don't want any sex to be above the other, but when you speak about the female narrative being more dominant, you kind of take away from that equality thing, especially when you have a closing government that mentions the fact that also, and also the opening opposition did say this also, but that males also get raped in that regard. And we felt like this kind of, like, it cancelled out the team line you guys had set for yourself on that equality front. And also the reason why we didn't credit you much for that argument about the women deserving more of a say is because what we saw is that argument in itself had already been well analyzed by the opening opposition, and we didn't think that your take on it was enough to go above what they already said, because they had already laid that case down well, and we didn't think that you stood above it. We did, however, like how you acknowledged the side of the woman and why this is to be a more emotional thing from your argument about the woman's perspective and your justification argument in terms of how women need to have this courage to speak up so that other people, because it doesn't just speak to the rapist and gives them control, but it also speaks to other victims of that aren't reporting this, and so it builds this unity front. We just didn't think that those points were enough to go above what the first of all what the opening opposition had said, and we didn't think it was enough to go above what the opening government brought in terms of why the rape cases, the rate of rape is as it is. Between the opening government and the opening opposition, why we placed opening opposition is because they had these arguments about, first of all, the same awareness argument about how more women are raped, therefore they need the voice. What we especially liked, and this is something that Sean established early in the speech, is the fact that it's not that women are starting to get raped because they have a voice. It's that more rape cases are being discovered because they're speaking about it now. So in saying already that they already used to get raped, it just wasn't spoken about, kind of already overshadows your case about how women are speaking about women getting raped because they have a more dominant say in society. What we also like from them is the argument about the control and how when you get raped, the best way to take back control of the situation is to stand tall and say to the perpetrator that this didn't like break me. You in a way taking back the control of your own life and of that situation, and also about how the more rape cases get reported, the more people are put behind bars, and this kind of curbs rape in that order. So we felt like those arguments were way heavier than your arguments. Why we placed closing government above opening opposition, however, is because what the arguments we got from the closing government in terms of the victim complex, the role of the male narrative here and the rape culture. First of all, in terms of the victim complex, about how the fact that it's women that keep reporting and talking about this rape creates this opinion between themselves about how they are inferior to men, and it makes them see themselves and other younger women. It makes those women see women generally as being inferior to men. And the fact that we don't have this say from the men's side about they also get raped, it gives this idea that only women get raped and therefore women are inferior to men. The argument about the role of the male narrative, which we thought was particularly good in terms of this debate, is in saying how it's not just women that get raped, also men get raped. But if we have a dominance of female narratives, then we overlook the male cases and we don't have that balance. To the point where when males go up and speak about their rape cases, no one believes them because we all have this idea that it's only women that get raped. So in giving women less of a voice, you give men a higher platform to speak up about these things, and it creates this equality factor. And also in terms of how, because women dominate this thing, we get this idea that women can, amongst women, that they can just, a way to get back at males is to falsely accuse them of rape, and this will be okay under this model because everyone believes the woman's side. The moment you tell your story, then we believe you because you're a woman, and because women have a more dominant say in this, then their voices are stronger in this regard. And also the rape culture argument about how if we get more about why we think women get raped, like she mentioned about how sometimes we tend to think that women get raped because of the way they dress or because of the way they act, and we put this blame on them, and it gives this idea of why women get raped. And if we have we also have the male narrative, then we begin to understand why this truly happens from the perpetrator's side and not only from the victim's side about why she thinks they get raped. We get a more clear characteristic of the perpetrator, and we understand more, and we will be able to better curb this by understanding the perpetrator more from his point of view or from her point of view, rather than just from the victim's point of view. And we felt like these arguments tackled more the issues that were supposed to be discussed in the debate. They stood more firmly according to like these main themes that we established, and that's why we felt that they were first.